Done. We're going. We are live.
Ready? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Below Par podcast with myself, Joe, and Joe.
Hello.
Today, I'm excited. We've got a very good friend of mine, somebody, again, who I went to university with that has continued his golfing career. To give you a little bit of a rundown, he won the Brabazon in 2018. He also played for England that year, GB and I. He's currently managed by Underpin Sports, and he also currently has a Europro full card. So very good golfer. Introduce Nick Poppleton.
Hi, you all right? How you doing? You all right, Joe? Joe?
Welcome to the pod.
Cheers, thank you. Thanks.
Our little pod, that's nice, Joe.
What?
Pod.
Our little pod.
Welcome to our pod. Yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Sorry.
So to give you guys a little bit of an intro into Nick. Nick was, again, at Tournament Golf College, so a university that we went to. Ended up playing quite a lot of golf with Nick. Nick was the year above me, so he left obviously one year before me. But we played a lot of golf together, I think, during that time. Obviously,
Yeah, definitely.
I remember coming in first year, and I think very quickly you were sort of established as one of the better players in the university quite early on.
Yeah. I mean, in my first year, I wasn't really established. I was sort of under the wing of two guys. Darren obviously takes you under his wing instantly at the uni and looks after everybody's needs. Then we're sort of Dan Roseveare, who's a phenomenally good golfer in sort of Cornwall, Devon. I think he was off +2 when we went. And Louis Tomlinson from Lancashire, he was off +3. I sort of came into the uni off +1, but quite hungry to succeed, really. And those two guys were, they weren't really the most dedicated golfers, but they sort of had the talent and the attributes already. So they were good guys to watch and play with and develop through my first year. Obviously, Joe didn't want to see that coming in his second year, but in my first year, I wasn't particularly that established until my second year, until I sort of had a really good sort of first year working really hard. And then when I came back to sort of Joe coming for Joe's first year, my second year sort of was almost as good as those guys, if not, better, because I've been around them for a sort of a year and realised why they were good. They were really good to sort of emulate and copy to progress, really.
I have to admit, that's one of the really positive things I think that certainly Tournament Golf College as a whole has given people is the ability to mix with other really good players, but actually not just, you've done a practice session with so-and-so, but actually you've lived with them. You've seen what they do today, and then you've got to play competitively against them.
100%. You don't you realise how many different kinds of good players are. And I mean, you look at, Dan wouldn't mind me saying, but Dan and Louis, they weren't really like athletes. They wouldn't go back and eat the right things. They wouldn't, always practice the right things. But Dan would just do enough. Dan would always just, keep himself fresh for competition, always be ready to compete. And that was sort of, I'd never really been my thing. I was always a really hard practicer and worked really hard. And if anything, I went to the other extreme. So he sort of helped me a lot. And both of them did, just watching them, how they would sort of not go overboard with it and sort of still be fresh for tournament golf, which really, really helped me to see the other ways of doing it and achieving.
Absolutely. So if we then obviously go, obviously had quite a good time, I think, at Tournament Golf College. Obviously got some good results in the Algarve Winds Tour events. Just talk to me about then what happened for you once you kind of left the college. What happened? What sort of led up to now?
So I sort of left the college knowing that I wanted to still keep playing, but with the backing of a degree, knew I'd sort of had a bit of sort of 5 years really in education, and that's chosen education. Did 2 years at Lovery doing a bit of BTEC sports science, and then obviously tournament golf. So looked back, said, well, that's 5 years at it. There's a bit of sort of fallback. I still wanted to play. Knew I could sort of rub shoulders with the good guys. Had a year playing amateur stuff. Played for county for that year. Didn't really didn't feel great most of the year that year. I mean, actually found out at the last event of the year, I'd had a scan on my back and I had a basically a stress fracture in my lower spine. So I didn't really know I was sort of not in 100% in a good place. But luckily it came at the end of the year. I was actually leading the tournament. It was North of England Amateur at Old Woodley. I was leading through 2 rounds and then found that out. And I think psychologically it made a difference, but I didn't play good golf. So you can't really say it made a difference because, if you hit the good golf shots under pressure, it doesn't matter whether you feel great or not. I played a full year on it. Then I got in England squad the year after that, after my sort of break. Just opened up we were very lucky coming from Yorkshire because obviously we had Graham Walker as a coach. So I knew what I was getting into with England. I knew the sort of, not the game, but I knew what it was going to entail, what they required from us. I think because we have first-hand coaching from them in our Yorkshire coaching, we do understand what they want, and we sort of tick the box. I mean, I got in with Bailey, and we both got into the A squad in the same year. We did quite a lot of rooming together that year. We then stayed together with England because they always put us together, and had a good off season, really. I mean, it was nice to actually practice, and we went to Kinter a couple of times and Woodall a couple of times, and really just to sort of keep your eye in and practice with good players. Again, you're in a pool of players players like Tom Sloman that gone on and played Walker Cup. What a good player he is. Sloman, just a natural player. He's really good at playing.
Yeah. He's actually, Tom, if you're listening for whatever reason, you're my next target for a guest. I was at Hartbury with Tom.
Yeah, and, I don't know whether Sloman would have much to say about golf. He's just a complete doer. He's just good. He's got it. Look, he's sort of just such a player. I mean, I remember the chipping challenge we did at Quinta del Lago with Graham, and Graham's very sort of, not philosophy, but he tries to make it as simple as possible when you're pitching, chipping, playing shots. So he'll always the L's of chipping it: lie, land, loft, line into the hole. So he'd always be like, well, look for your first available flat spot, land it there, roll it up. And I remember Sloman going around a chipping challenge with just lob wedge and just like all these shots that are like 7-9, nudge it into the bank, and he battered us all. He battered us all with lob wedge. He was just like playing him in low, playing him in high. I'm watching. He's got the hands for it. Yeah. He's just got golf in hands, really, and such a funny guy as well. So he's so funny.
It's interesting what you said about the guys at TGC early on when you started chatting about those guys. Tom seems to me to be one of those guys. Like you said, he's an absolute doer. Anytime we ever went to a match with college or whatever it was, Tom was always, well, not always, but he was always last to the bus, always had lost something, always seemed well prepared. Maybe he was totally prepared, but it didn't seem that way.
He's totally prepared. I mean, when the gun goes off, he's ready to go. Yeah. And that's all that matters. And I think when you spend time around people that are like that in life, business, whatever it may be, you understand that when the gun goes off, they're still hungry to do it.
Oh, 100%.
No matter how they're just really good at dealing with certain situations. They're really good at just going, oh, well, that doesn't matter, And sometimes you can be right. Oh, I go down for breakfast and my breakfast 10 minutes late and I'm 10 minutes behind, and then this went wrong, and then I went to go to the toilet and there was no stalls free. It's like people like that are just like, they don't care. Yeah. It's just like, well, as long as I get to hit the first tee shot, it doesn't matter whether I've hit 10 balls, 50 balls, 3 balls on the range, or I've hit them in a net. It doesn't matter, because when the gun goes off, they're ready to perform.
Yeah.
And that's what I think you see that a little bit more in pro golf. You see the different ways of doing it.
Yeah.
There's no one structure that's really going to make you definitely achieve. You've just got to really be ready when the gun goes off to play with some confidence and go out there and sort of show off and perform a little bit.
Yeah. And that's actually always a trait of Tom, and actually a few others in that same year. I don't know how much golf you've played with Jamie Dick, but he for me falls under the same bracket.
I played last year on Europro, and he did strike me as the same kind of chap. I think we went out for a couple of beers the last night after Europro as well, final in Spain. And he was very chilled and sort of relaxed, and just, you know, he almost felt like he'd just be exactly the same. He'd just rock up and go, well, I'm going to go and play. I'm going to show my skills off.
Yeah.
And I don't want to show my skills off on the range because it doesn't mean anything to me. I want to show my skills off on the golf course and go, well, there's a 64, there's a 63.
Yeah.
You know, look at that. That's what I'm here to achieve, not, oh, well, he flushes it on the range and goes out and shoots 71.
Yeah, 100%. That's something I'm totally envious of. That's something I wish I could have fallen into the bracket. I mean, I never had an eighth of the talent of Tom or Jamie.
I think it's something that you can develop at the end of the day. I think that the more you're in the arena, the better you get. I mean, the more you're playing for something with a consequence, the more you're chucking 20 quid in the pot, the more you're playing closest to the pin, or you know, it creates that element of urgency to not want to lose. So I think you by being in that arena with people like that, they're almost the guys that want to rock up, chuck a fiver in, him, Tom Plum, Sloman, and it's like they want to chuck some money in the pot and go and play. They don't want to go and beat balls for 10 hours.
Yeah.
They just want to go, I'll take your money off you, or I'll show you what I can do.
Yeah.
And I think the more you get that on show, the more it comes out on show when you're actually under the gun and under pressure.
Yeah, 100%. And actually, just relating it back to, let's say, club golf. A lot of club golfers that build up to their, I don't know, autumn meeting, club championship, whatever it is, they can take a lot from that mindset.
Yeah, I mean, it's a social sport, isn't it? And at the end of the day, most club golfers just want to enjoy the golf and come out. But you know, there is sort of probably 50% of the guys that rock up to join a club and they want to win something. They want the name on the board. They want to achieve something, and it's all a progression and a journey. And I think the more times you're playing for something, you're not just rocking up and going, oh, well, you know, and you're pushing your boundaries and you're trying to achieve better things rather than being like, I'll just scoop that 4-footer up because I would have made it anyway.
Yeah.
No, you've got to hold that. You know, you're still in game time. And when you haven't put a fiver over and your mate's not turning around and going, no, you need to hold that 4-footer, I'm not giving it you. It doesn't become natural. So then when it actually needs holding, it becomes 10 times harder, I think. And I think sometimes we miss that. We definitely miss that.
Definitely.
Totally.
What I was going to say is, before we get into the sort of too much differences between amateur and pro golf, because I know that's something we chat quite heavily about. Me and Pops had a bit of a phone call yesterday about that one, and it was an interesting discussion. So definitely bring that up today. Let's just chat a little bit about the sort of team around you at the moment. So you're working with some of the guys down at. Are you working with Pete and?
With Nick, yeah. I've worked there. I've done some on-off shifts here and there at the range. Got in there sort of, years ago. Nick was my first coach when I first started, when I was about 14, 15. So I was a bit of a late bloomer to golf. He always did a deal that was 6 for 5. You buy 6 lessons, you get 5. You buy 5 lessons, you get 6. The 6th one for free. So every winter, my granddad, as a Christmas present, would buy me 5 lessons, and I get my 6th one free. And then sort of throughout the winter, I'd go see him, and then when it sort of came to the year, I'd just go out and play, and then I'd come back in the winter and do the same thing again. So I've seen Nick for years and years now. And then when I started to work there and started to develop a bit more as a player, I grew a pair of balls and asked Pete to give me a golf lesson, because I think Nick was actually away at that moment. And I had a couple of sessions with Pete since then, but he's very, very good. I mean, he knows, it's like a sergeant major, he's like a drill sergeant. If he says jump, it's like, yeah, how high? Like what he says, you do, because you feel that it's like an army guy shouting at you. You know it's the right information, you're going to do it. So he almost has an element of stop and listen to me, because what I'm telling you is going to make you a better player. And if you're driven and you want to achieve something, then you're going to do it. If you're not, and you're not really listening to him, then he knows, he sees you on the range, he watches you, he'll watch your movements, and he'll go, and he knows whether you've been working on it or not. So it's almost a constant eye of, are you doing drills, are you working on it? Because he's going to know, and he's going to find you out. And he's not a guy that'll shy away from things. He'll call you out and go, well, you've not been working on it, why am I giving you my time? Because he's teaching people like Brooks Koepka and Paul Afi Barmrat, players like that, him and Mike. So if you're not willing to put the hours and the time in, then you don't really, he shouldn't really give you the information because, it's, you need to work hard to be a good player.
Absolutely. Just out of interest, what sort of things have you worked on with him? Is there anything that you would be able to share with us that you think?
Realistically, at the moment, I haven't seen Pete in a while. When I last had a lesson, we were just really working on sort of my tendencies. My tendencies sort of to start the ball a little bit too far right, open up a little bit early, and then sort of block it if anything, and get really big draws. So what we had been working on with Nick is sort of not to feel cut, but almost to stronghold myself into hitting cut. So I'd be standing on the range. My sort of ideal in my head is the 17th at players, the island green. If the flag's back right, you are not starting the ball right of target. My path generally seems to wander a little bit too far to the right. So what I've been doing in my practice is setting up, if it was anything ever technical, setting up a scenario, the 150 markers, the pin, anything right of that 150 marker is in the water, and you ain't starting it right. So it changed my mechanics to help me sort of get into a good place.
Yeah,
but
cool.
Other than that, realistically, I've sort of taken a step away from the mechanics, and we've been doing more performance stuff. Realistically, because sort of rolling up to the season, your technical stuff, my technical game's in a good place at the moment, so it's something we don't want to overdo and sort of go hunting for the perfect golf swing, but then doesn't shoot numbers.
No, absolutely. I think that's a really important point, isn't it, Joe? I know that me and you put on our pages not that long ago, would you rather, and it was something like make the most out of every round and shoot level par or better and not strike the ball very well, or would you rather strike the ball really well? And there was quite a few people that said they'd rather strike the ball really well. And then me and Joe were arguing, well, realistically, that's not the game of golf. You can
that's an ego thing though, isn't it? We all want to hit it like Stenson. That's our egos telling us that we all want to, and that's fine. We all want to drive a car really quick, but nobody can drive it like Lewis Hamilton quickly around the track. Doesn't matter how quick it is, it's the efficiency, it's the time. It's exactly the same. We want to sign for 65s, not level pars. So realistically, yes, hitting it good helps, but actually being able to manage yourself is half the battle. I mean, I remember our conversation yesterday. I shot the 7 under in the 2020 tour at the first ever 2020 tour at Crossland Heath. And I was telling you, I think I probably only went at 3 flags in the whole round for 7 under. 3 putted, 1 for bogey, so I had 8 birdies. But I genuinely didn't need to go at flags because, 15 foot here, there, was fine. Knock it on the par 5s, 4 par 5s, that's 4 under. Hit 1 iron shot close, which I did. I think I hit 2 close in the end. That was 6 under. Not 1 or 2 15 footers in. That's, there's 8 birdies. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it means that I'm never going to make 4 or 5 bogeys in a round of golf.
Exactly.
Because I'm constantly reassuring myself that I'm going to pick smart shots. And then if I do get in a bit of a, if you do get in a bit of a spell where actually you are flying and you've stiffed a couple of iron shots, you can go at 1 or 2 foot flags, but knowing where your golf game is on that day is important. The first 3-4 holes, sort of evaluating, I'm in a good place here, I can go at some flags, or I've not quite got it today, 15 feet right, it's good. And then if you block it, you're still on the green. If you pull it, you're on the flag. And if you hit a great golf shot to 15 foot, I reckon 50% of the time you're going to hold that because in your head you've hit a great shot exactly where you wanted to hit it.
There's a really interesting point, actually. It's something where me and Joe have had this chat a few times, and it's being able to, and we'll touch this on the next episode of this. We're going to continue this. Zoom, unfortunately, only gives us 40 minutes. We've got 6 minutes left as we speak. So we'll wrap this and we'll go again. But it's being able, me and Joe have said this, it's being able to open up that front door to shoot really well. It's really, really low. Yeah. And I think we'll probably agree with me. It's something probably me and you have never really done in that sense. I think I've shot 6 under before. I've been 7 or 8, but that was in a match play. But in a stroke play, I sort of get to 4 and it stops. It's like momentum stops. I'm like, right, I've done my job, I'm 4. Whereas I'm saying that, yes, that's okay in amateur golf, but in pro golf, that's not going to get you there.
Yeah, I think the more you get in the situation as well, the more you're sort of under the cosh of it, and you know realistically that 4 isn't winning. The more you
Yeah.
start to think, well, I've got to get to 6, 7, 8 because if you don't win. I mean, like I said, I was saying last week, yesterday that I shot 9 under in a Pro-Am on Europro and shot 7 under the first round, so 16 under for 2 rounds, and someone tied with me. James Fraser tied me in Pro-Am with 9 under, and then I was tied lead for the first round on 7 under. So, and loads of people, I think there's 3 or 4 people on 6 as well. So it's like, you have to, if I'd have got to 4 or 5 and thought, well, yeah, that'll do me, that's a good day's work, I would have then had to shoot 4 or 5 the next day.
Yeah.
You've just got to you learn eventually that actually you're just trying to hit good golf shots under pressure. You're not trying to make good decisions. You're not trying to shoot 7, 8 under. If you just constantly keep hitting good golf shots and keep making good choices, you'll get to 7, 8, 9s. I think sometimes it influences your decision making that, if you do fancy a shot, you've got to step up and hit it. Sometimes you do stand on a tee shot and think, I don't see it. And the answer isn't chip iron down there. Sometimes the answer is, well, if I don't see it from anything, I might as well be closer to the hole with driver, because then if I've got 100 yards, I can chip it to 60, 70 yards further forward and have a 30-yard pitch shot in. If you don't fancy it with iron and leave yourself 150 in, then you can only get it to like the 70 yard, and you increase chances throughout your round. So you have to make sort of, sometimes based on logic, and sometimes logic isn't defend. Sometimes logic is, well, I'll get it as close as I can to the green, and I can, even if I'm in danger, I can progress it closer to the green and make par or birdie.
I think what's really interesting about that, and this is quite an interesting thing, is you would never really teach that, or depending who you're working with. But let's say, for example, we're doing a playing lesson for an average golfer with a handicap, let's say of 14, 15. That isn't the approach you play. You would ask them to lay back and then hit forward, because their bad shot dispersion is much wider. Whereas actually for a pro, you would hope the dispersion is tighter. The amount of times you make a bad swing.
I mean, the guys are really good at the driver as well, Joe. I mean, you see a bunker at 270, 280. It used to be like, well, let's hit 3 iron and be 10 yards short and never go in that trap. It's not now. It's just like hit driver over it. It's not even questionable whether that is a play. I remember a hole at Desert Springs, the par 5, and there's a 310-yard carry to get over this ditch, and you either hit 3 wood short of it, or sort of 3 wood or like a 2 iron, because it was sort of runny down there, and it's 300 to the water, and then you sort of got a 3 wood, 5 wood in, or you have a pop at it and you go over this ravine. And I remember playing, I think Jamie had a go at it, Jamie Dick. He popped it over it and literally had 9 iron. I remember Ash Turner, I was staying with Ash, and he knocked it over that ravine into the next ravine, and I had to take a drop, which the next ravine was like 400 yards away. And you just stood there thinking, well, he's got 9 iron in, and I'm playing it sensible, and I've got 3 wood in. He's getting a lot of 9 irons up and down in comparison to my 3 iron.
Yeah.
So you either go for it, or you sort of have to eliminate the fact that you're probably not going to make eagle there.
Yeah.
And it's momentum. That gives you momentum to the next hole, and then the hole after, or it gives you momentum back if you'd lost it or bogeyed the hole before that. And people would say it's a risk, but for the guys now that are playing, I don't think it is a risk. I think it's more of a risk laying up.
Yeah. So that's a proper elite player's mentality, and that's what you've got to have in order to.
Yeah, we were saying yesterday, the fear of failure sort of gets eliminated when you turn pro, I think, because you play, you're playing for your living and you want to make more money, but to make more money you've got to be at the top. Yeah. And to be at the top, you've got to play aggressive golf or play good golf constantly. So sort of chipping 5 irons down fairways won't get you, where you need to be. Yeah. So you've got to play smart at times, but you've also got to play sort of without fear to shoot your 7, 8, 9s unders.
Yeah.
Smart golf does work, but I think quite aggressive off the tee is what I've seen in my first sort of couple of years. And everyone seems to drive it good. Everyone seems to hit it long. I got out there and was like, well, how long are they going to be? Because I grew up with sort of Matty Jordan, Gianmarco in my last year of pro golf. And Gianmarco hits it a long way, and Matty Jordan hits it a long way. And watching those guys thinking, well, they're bombers, but you get out actually in the arena and they're not that long, but the sort of guys like Marco Penge that hits it miles and will hit driver everywhere. Every hole Marco will hit driver, because he will just eventually one week he'll get it right and he'll shoot 10 under.
Right, we are back in. Sorry about that. We got cut off, so that's going to be a bit of a jumpy edit for me to manage. Nick, you were talking about Marco and basically how far he hits it and how that enables him to go really, really low.
Yeah, I mean, he does hit it quite a long way, but it's just how aggressive he is off the tee. I mean, there's never sort of anything that would phase Marco. You know, bunker at 300, it's just like, well, I hit it harder and go over that. You know, bunker at 310, it's not like hit 3 wood short of it. It's like, well, I'll either hit it in the gap or I'll hit it over it. It just opens up a different avenue of golf, you know, and I think it enables you, law of average, the closer you are to the green, the easier it is to hit it closer. So I think most of the guys on tour have got that sort of sussed, or they know that, and I think because they don't fear shooting sort of higher scores, because it's all about the front door, not the back door, it enables them to play more aggressively and play sort of with more confidence.
I think that brought us on to our point a little bit from yesterday, wasn't it? When, you imagine the amateur game, or let's say the amateur handicap system currently in the UK. I know obviously it's changing, but certainly the way me and you and Joe grew up with was the idea of 0.1 if you get cut and 0.1 if you go up in category 1.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I find a lot of the time that for most people would stop them really shooting really low, because the emphasis all the time is on how you shoot compared to your handicap rather than how you shoot compared to the field. Well, that's certainly something you're playing a tournament, standard scratch, goes up 3 or 4. You are 2 under par playing off scratch. You're like, wow, hang on a minute, that's like, suddenly it's 0.6.
Yeah.
I'm on the brakes, par in, I'm happy, I've done my job.
Yeah, especially in elite golf, as elite amateur golf, definitely, or maybe just county golf. You go away, and generally the events are held at venues that only 1 or 2 guys are members there. So they know the golf course. So they're thinking, well, if I shoot level my handicap, standard scratch is going at 3-4. But if they played a club comp where, sort of Joe Bloggs is shooting 7 or 8 under his handicap and standard scratch stays around level, it sort of levels it out in a way. And I'm not quite sure whether the system is great for elite golfers, because elite golfers, we're trying to, I say we, but what we want is the best elite golfers we can get, so then that we can breed the best professionals that we can get. So then, the guys that are playing good are always competing against better, younger, hungrier players. So to stop them, for them to have we don't want you to shoot better scores because we want you to sort of stop when you clip like 5 or 6 under your handicap, because you're going to get a big chop. You want to see guys shooting 10 under. So you almost don't want them to have a back door. You want them to think, well, I want to shoot the lowest score I can shoot, and that's how you're going to breed good players. And you don't really find that in amateur golf, especially in the elite level.
And let's be honest, a lot of the time I think what you'll find is as the guys start making more birdies, which they always do when you open the front door, actually the back door starts to almost close itself.
Yeah, without a doubt. And you get
6 birdies around.
It's playing with more confidence, aren't you? You're playing golf shots, and then you've also got an awareness that you are under par and you are 5 or 6 deep. So you almost look at a golf hole and go, well, I'm not chasing it. I'm trying to shoot a good score, but I know that pin's dangerous. I'm not going to take it on. I'm going to try and hit it 15 foot short right, or if it's a front flag, try and hit it 10 foot long right, and sort of put back to it. When you play in those shots and you know any handicap and you're a bit depressed, you miles over par, you just aim and shoot at the flag, and you're not actually thinking your way around and plotting your way around. And that's where dealing with different situations and the consequences you've got. And that's where sort of performance managers come in. I mean, I've worked with Duncan McCarthy the last year, and some of his chats have been great and really relevant to what you want to steer the conversation into. And most of it is just getting you to perform better, getting you to be a better thinker, getting you to actually sort of commit to your shots. I did some work with him out in Portugal before sort of the season got called off. I had 3 events over there, And we just basically worked on my decision making. And I just thought to myself after, I've never spent 20, 30 minutes on a range with someone working on my decision making. All I'd spent was, well, where's my golf swing at? Where's this? What do I want to do with that? What do I need to work on? And I'd never actually gone, well, what am I making good decisions? Because if I'm making poor decisions, I might be making good swings with poor decisions rather than making great decisions, great golf swings, hitting great golf shots.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So it definitely opened up a different avenue, and I found that I was actually almost rushing to pick golf shots. I wasn't going with my gut. I'd already got I knew the shot in my mind before I'd even got to the ball. I'd not evaluated. The wind could have changed. The lie could be different to what I'd assume in the fairway. You know, it could be a flag that's tucked away, so I might want to play it short. Is the danger there? Is the danger here? How much uphill, down or downhill it would be? And I'd made the decision, and then I found it very hard to sort of go back on myself after I'd already made a decision that was poor.
No, absolutely. Joe, have you got anything else you want to ask Pops? And obviously we're going to do another episode with Pops pretty much straight after this now, where we're going to ask him for a few tips for you guys there at home. Joe, have you got anything you want to ask him? Any?
Me, I think that's covered quite a lot of subjects really. A great insight into essentially low scoring, which regardless of whether you're a 10 handicap or a +5 handicap, you can take things from that. Obviously, as a 10 handicap, if you're managing 8 birdies around, you definitely shouldn't be off a 10 handicap for a start.
Yeah, I'd be asking questions there.
It's related. It's kind of relatable.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I played over the winter a couple of sort of pro-ams and stuff with 10 handicappers, and I remember the one round Doncaster Town Moor, which is in the middle of the race course. I had a chance to shoot 59. I'm playing with a guy that he just needed to come in on his shot holes, and he got so overstimulated the shot holes that he had, because he'd had 8-9 shots, and he's like, well, I just want to come in and make pars on those holes. He's trying so hard to make pars on those holes, when actually all he needed to do was put a tee shot in play. Not even like we need to hit the fairway here. We just need the ball in play, and then all we need is an iron shot into the middle of the green. Even if he hit a poor iron shot, he was only ever going to be on the fringe chipping. A sensible chip shot with a chip and run, or possibly a putt from the fringe. He'd only really got to hit one good golf shot on that hole to make par. Yeah. And he knew it. But he'd almost thought he needed to hit 3 fantastic shots to make par. Whereas I was trying to say, if we can get you to hit one really good golf shot on this hole, you will make par. And generally, the really good golf shots came from around the green or his approach shot. He either hit a really good approach on the green, and then it was sort of, he couldn't not par it because he was a good enough putter, or he hit a really good short game shot that was just sensible. It was like, well, actually, there might be a little bit of rough in front of me, but I'm just going to bumble a hybrid through, pitch it in the fringe and just let it run up. Or, you know what, I'm just going to put it from the fringe here. Normally, I chip it with a lob wedge because I want my mates to watch me at lob wedge. But actually, when he had the team aspect and there was no pressure on him, he'd just play the right shot, the sensible shot to make the score he needed to. And if we can get 10 handicappers to play that, or 15 handicappers to play the sensible shots more often, that the handicaps are going to tumble with a bit of short game work from a PGA Pro or a bit of putting work. They're definitely going to come down.
Absolutely. So, Joe, are you happy to leave that there for today?
Yeah, let's leave that as the main pod. Well, thanks very much for coming on. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. We're about to talk to you some more. We're not at the level now of keeping it a secret and changing clothes to make it look like we filmed on a different day. We're going to do back-to-back. So hopefully you enjoy this one. This is probably going to come out second. And then the shorter clip will come out a few days before. That's the plan. So hopefully you've enjoyed. Hopefully you've enjoyed the previous episode. And thanks for tuning in. As ever, like and subscribe. And we'll see you all very, very soon.